The meeting of the July 2nd, 2009 Milton Planning Board. First thing on the agenda is public comment. This is at the time when anybody in the public would like to make a comment about anything that's on the agenda. Not seeing or hearing any, I will close public comment, go on to the capital improvement program projects submittals. Presentations by school board, conservation commission, cemetery, library, and town to review CIP requests, review updated CIP spreadsheet.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I just want to explain to the board that the Conservation Commission does not have a project in any of the years, the 6 years of the capital improvements program, so they will not be coming tonight. The Betsy Baker, the librarian, who is trying to get here by about 7:15.
Okay.
And we also have John Catwick here from the Townhouse Restoration Committee to speak about his project, his committee's project. But just a quick word about the school department,
Yes.
school district. They have again not answered several emails and have not indicated that they would be here tonight.
We maybe need to have their
They have a
attention.
statutory responsibility. It is a New Hampshire statute. It says that they have to participate in a capital improvement program process every year. And it is within the authority and purview of the planning board to make that happen. In other words, if the board wishes, the board could sue the school district to do their duty with regard to the statute on capital improvement program.
Something to think about.
It is.
I'm going to appoint Larry Brown for Matt Morrill tonight, an alternate. Mr. Brown? Well, seeing we got school board conservation not here. John, do you want to do the cemetery trustees, or do you want to?
I'm not here to talk about cemetery trustees. I'm here to talk about the townhouse, 2 state pumps.
The floor is yours, sir.
And I believe you have on your desk in front of you the Form A that John filled out for the heating project for the townhouse.
Yep. Any discussion on it? Let's talk about it. John?
Yeah, I'd like to add a little to it, to maybe answer any questions that you might have. The reason The reason for it is to get a longer season when the restoration is completed, and the plan is to complete this project by the end of 2019 to be able to start a study, a make-use study for it. And it give us a longer season with the AC and also the heat to do it, to make use for the public. And the other big factor is the condensation with no heat in the building. As you all know, I don't need to get into detail on it, that you service things like we're having right now with peeling of the paint off the walls and redoing them over and over again. So, but the main purpose is for the longer season, with a hope and plan. This have to be cleared to the Board of Selectmen to generate funds for the future, for the tax revenue. And the price you're looking at, there's two different contractors there, one with a local person. As you can see, Courier Plumbing, $12,700. And I was instructed that I should be using the contractor that the town of Milton uses for this type of thing, which is Trojans, with a price of $14,000. I still recommend that we go with a in-town plumber, and of course the cost is less. If you have any questions, I'd be more than glad to answer them.
Anybody on the board? Questions?
I have three. Did you get a copy of the agenda?
Yes, I did.
Did you read it?
Yes, I did.
It did mention the cemetery trustees.
What's that?
It did mention the cemetery trustees.
Yeah, but I addressed that. You didn't
Yeah.
have your ears on or whatever, because I addressed that when I come and said that the cemetery trustees is not on the agenda.
Okay. Yeah. Do
You
I
understand
remember?
that? You
Pardon?
understand what I said?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Do I understand that LCHIP recommended against insulation?
Insulation of the walls only, correct.
So the ceiling is insulated.
The ceiling is not insulated. The walls are not insulated.
So neither the walls nor the ceiling are insulated?
Correct.
Did you check with LCHIP for the exterior appearance of the monitor units?
No, I did not.
It's a historic building.
That's right.
Do they have any interest in the appearance of the exterior of the building?
Well, they were there today, did a complete survey with a 10-year contract we had with them that's going to finalize, and they had no problem with that at all.
Did you ask them?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Did I answer the questions? Did I answer you? Satisfied with the question?
If
That you had?
If I weren't, I'd have another one.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I got a question. On this form here, I guess it's for the air conditioning? I don't know, it doesn't
Yes.
say. But on this form here,
Yeah,
and you said 6 weeks per year?
that's right. Probably extended out to as much as 6 weeks between the spring and the fall. What it is, Mr. Graham, is that it's a two-stage pump system
Uh-huh,
that does AC and heat.
yeah, okay, yeah, I
It's
understand
some
that,
new
but,
technology that they have.
yeah, because the item 7 says estimated use of requested items.
Mhm.
So that indicates to us that you're only gonna use it 6 weeks a year.
It'll be in addition, yeah, it'll be 6 months total between heat and cool, correct.
So it's months instead of weeks.
That's what he's trying to get, it's marked.
Okay.
On here, you
You're
said
exactly
6
right.
weeks.
I'm sorry, that's
no
my
big deal.
error.
That's no big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah,
Well, it'd be a big, it'd
If
be
you
a
didn't
biggie
catch
if
it.
Yeah.
we didn't catch it, yeah.
It was caught.
So should we amend this form to show 6 months instead of 6 weeks?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay.
But, thank you. Thank you. I did have another question. Plan of use, by whom, how often?
I didn't hear.
Plan of use, by whom, how often?
Well, that's gonna have to be addressed with a plan of use with the Board of Selectmen, and we're looking at facility policies now to regulate that time frame.
So there is no list,
Not as of right now.
no one is signed up to
That's
use
correct.
it naturally?
That's correct.
Yep. Okay.
They do a comparison between the Daikins versus the Mitsubishis. Have you done any comparisons on those two units, differences? The reason I asked, I just had my house done, and I ended up with going with Mitsubishi's, so they were similar, but, and pricing wise, they were similar. So I didn't know if, it was just his personal preference to
Yeah.
use those.
Well, you know, it's a good question. It would be worth asking both these vendors to see,
Right.
because they are made by a different manufacturer,
Right,
that we could do that.
right. I had very good use. Like I said, they quoted me on these, and I ended up going, because I did a little lookup on the Mitsubishi's, and the guys that installed them
Yeah,
has been installing them ever since. He loves them.
yeah, yeah.
So, they're great. They're really, I mean, one we have in the bedroom, we don't even use. The one in the living room carries over.
And again, that's why I went with another company that's more, but maybe that's the way to go, you know, go with more expensive, but that I can ask, and,
I mean, it's just something to consider, different units, and
Yeah.
maybe he's never tried these, and maybe he'd get him for a good price as
Yeah,
an introductory for his company.
Maybe it'll
good
save
question,
us in the
yeah.
long run, too.
Bruce?
Mr. Kentwick, I have 3 questions. One of them has to do with where the funding is slated to come from on your submittal.
Yeah.
Are you intending this to be a warrant article for raising tax money for the $12,000 or $14,000?
Let me read to you, good question. Article 10, establish town building capital reserve fund. To see if the town will vote to establish a capital reserve fund under the provisions of RSA 35:1 for the purpose of designing, constructing, and maintaining town buildings, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be placed in the fund for the purpose of funding future capital expenditures as described in the recommended 2018-2023 capital improvement program. This sum is to come from the fund balance. No amount is to be raised from taxation. Further, to name the selectmen as agents to expend from this fund, majority vote required. In line with this, I run it by the highway director that's responsible for all capital buildings, and he's in favor of doing this. Number one.
This is a warrant article that you want to send to the voters in 2020.
No, this has already been approved.
This has been approved.
This has been approved.
And so the funding will come out of there.
That's correct.
And the funds are already in the capital.
That's correct.
Okay, I think that's important for the board to understand
Yeah.
when you prioritize this. I had a second question, and that has to do with the fact that you mentioned that one of the plans that comes out of putting a heating and cooling system in this building is to make the building useful again.
Correct.
And without that, the building would be of limited use, maybe during the summer. What would, and you talked about renting the hall, and that's probably a good idea, but what you didn't talk about is whether the townhouse, and it's named that for a reason, could begin to be used again by the town for things like town meetings and voting, and other things right now that are held in churches and school buildings. Is that something that you would,
We, the committee, will not be making those decisions. That'll be a town leadership decision to make.
but is that something that you advocate for?
Yes, we do. Absolutely, across the board. We want the building to be used. We today, for additional information, we today are probably topping off $200,000 on this restoration. We haven't used one tax penny to date, and we're proud to say that. Any other questions?
I have one, it doesn't really have to do with this. Are there going to be restrooms?
You can go there now and use a handicap toilet and a sink to wash your hands with right now. Running water, surge is all hooked up, ready to use right now.
Okay, thank you.
Did you ask, and did LCHIP give any opinion on installation of air conditioning and heating?
The answer is no. LCHIP there today was mainly, we talked a little bit, she's an intern, in all fairness to her, she's a beginner. And we were there today to sign off on a stewardship contract we've had for the last 10 years, which they generated $1,000 towards the restoration by doing a monitoring for it every year.
So, will you be asking LCHIP if they have any opinion on air conditioning and heating for
No,
that building?
no, I will not. The answer to that,
And,
Larry,
excuse me, and will you be asking LCHIP if they have any opinion on the physical exterior appearance of the building with 2 air conditioning units?
yes, we've talked somewhat with the standards that they have, which would have been Peter Michel that I talked to.
I hate mistakes.
You hate what?
Hate mistakes.
But there was a heating system in this building.
Yeah, it was what they call wood stoves.
There's a wood stove. It sits in the corner because there's a big hole in it. They tried to weld it, but it's not usable anymore. I suppose that you could put a wood stove back in there.
I don't think that'd be the right thing to do.
Well, I mean, we put
I guess
bathrooms
my
in it
point
too, we
is-
have an outhouse.
I guess my
We
point
do have
is
the
that
outhouse also,
when
by the way. We
you
left it.
talk to LCHIP, the question really becomes: will they accept a modern heating facility if it's installed in a way that doesn't make it look as if it's a modern thing?
I think the teepee flap is the only way to go.
I don't know what that means.
No, you're only gonna see it on the interior of the building with the mini splits. The condenser's on the outside, but it doesn't have to be right up against the building. They could probably put it a little further away and cover that some other way versus and maintain your historical
Look.
facade, so to speak. You know what I mean? There's ways to do
What
it.
I'm referring to is exactly what's on the wall right behind me.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you want to see what it looks like.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, you get 2 in a house, so. the condenser's
Better
so
than
bad.
the flue pipe that used to run down the whole middle of the building.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
10 inch, wasn't it?
It's amazing. And they run well below 0.
Yeah.
Who on the board has not taken a tour of the townhouse lately?
Lately?
How lately is lately?
Is 2 years ago lately?
No, you need to see it today.
Yeah.
I was there this morning.
So it's a trick question then.
I know.
Yeah.
I guess
Those are the kind of questions I lay.
Making us all look
I'm
bad, huh?
recommending that the
I went
board,
through it just a couple, no,
actually
less than a month
set
ago.
up a visit to the townhouse.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I'd be proud to give you the tour. Answer any questions you have.
Why don't we set
That'd
that
be
up?
great.
Have a,
Yeah,
I
I
was
mean,
being a little
Have a
facetious
walkthrough.
about the wood stove. I wasn't really being.
Yeah, I know you are. All right.
Do you remember the wood stove in there? when it
It's
was
still
working?
there.
I saw it today. It's still there.
Yep. That
I'll
flue pipe ran the whole
restore it.
length of the building.
In fact, there was 2 of them in there.
Yeah. When I first came to town, that's we voted.
Some of us remember voting there.
Yeah, I do.
Excuse me, are we looking at a time frame to do a site review before we make a decision, or can we make a decision tonight?
What would you be, what's the board's wishes?
I think we can make a decision tonight. I don't think we need
Yeah.
to. The tour is just a bonus.
Yeah.
Really?
yeah, I think the tour is a bonus, so.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We can go ahead and move ahead.
Yeah.
Bruce?
I'm not hearing what everybody's saying, but,
They want to make a decision on it tonight and still have a tour.
well, I don't think you make a decision on any of the project submittals that you've heard
No.
until the very end when you hear them all. So
Right.
you can look at the whole thing together. And as we've talked about, there's a process for doing that. You prioritize projects. Once you hear them all, you'll know in your mind which ones are priorities and why. You can't make up your mind tonight on any of them.
Okay,
You
well,
have to hear them all first.
Do we have to move to accept them?
No?
No?
Nope, this is just,
Okay.
You're drinking it all in.
yep.
the reason why I'm requesting is because of the electrician that I have needs to finish up running the wires. It's 220 to get to each one of these units. One's on the north wall, one's on the south wall. And his name, as you all know, is Steve Porter. He's donating all his time and everything for me. He has on this pretty much this whole project. And he's working in Connecticut now, and he's only home once in a great while. So I'd like to expedite it as soon as I could. I'd appreciate your effort in making a decision on as soon as possible, if you're going to accept.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, the electricity is already in.
So no school board, no conservation.
I do have one question.
Yes.
You said the money's already in the capital reserve fund for this?
Yeah. That's what the warrant article says, correct, Bruce?
Yes. You can step outside of the bounds of your normal process if it's important enough to you to move to, since the funds are available now, to make this a priority project and advocate for it. You could do that,
Let's do that.
should you choose.
It would still have to go before the selectmen too.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
Understood, but
That's
we
where
can make a
that's where your
recommendation.
motion would go.
Right.
It would go to the select
But
board.
at least this will get it rolling.
Right.
And since we're not asking for any more money,
Right.
Mhm.
and it's already been, the money's been allocated, so to speak.
I'll entertain a
What's the
motion.
holdup? I make a motion that we approve it.
I
I'll
second.
second.
Gotcha.
Any discussion?
Yeah. It bothers me that the electrical work is already going to be in place and is presenting you with an accomplished fact, and that it hasn't gone through an L-chip review for the historic building that it is.
Thank you.
And I speak as somebody who swept the floors, pulled nails, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't want L-chip to be unhappy. And this is no different than finding out that the new police cruiser already has paint on it, is in the garage, and do we want to buy it?
Okay.
Yes, something to say. Good.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to talk about, I want to kind of address what Mr. Brown is saying. And it's the reason why I suggested that the board go to the townhouse. There are some things that have been added to the townhouse on the inside now that were not there in 1803. Electrical receptacles in the kitchen area, every so many feet. Now, you didn't see that back then. The lady from L-chip, I met her today. She went through the inside and the outside of the building, and I'm not saying that I could read her mind, but I am saying that she saw things like a hot water heater, and she saw the receptacles. Those things are different historically than how the building looked in 1803. And I'm not sure what their rules are, but I think she would have said something.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how that equates out to seeing that somewhere, but my point is that I think it would take a phone call to find out.
Yeah, to Bruce's point, he's exactly right, that most people understand that there's all kind, especially Mr. Boyd, that the codes today are altogether different than they were back in 1803. I mean, it's a no-brainer, and you guys make the decisions, I think.
I mean, if I have a barn, if it's no use to me, whether it's historic or not, if I can't use it, I'll lose it. It makes no sense not to utilize a building, and it's going to take upgrade. It's maintenance, basic structural maintenance. And
Any
by
more
maintaining
comments?
the temperature in the building, you're going to make it live longer
Exactly.
because you're maintaining consistent temperature.
And it's going to be usable. And it hasn't been usable at this point, or, more than how long? How long has it been used in the past?
It was used up until 1982, 83 area.
But just recently, I mean,
Oh, we
you could
use
only
it.
use it for the summer, right?
I just left and had a meeting up there, and I'm soaking wet because it's so hot in there.
Yeah, yeah.
And the request is there. I'm sure that if you took a vote across the town, you would probably have 99% against 1% on to put these in there. I'm sure of that. And if you gentlemen don't, I don't have a problem with that. I always go with the majority. We'll go with that. But my next request will be that I can go through and do it with the 10,000, and I'll go out and I'll generate some more funds if I can, because I want this to work for the public, for the town and people.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Any more comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
One abstention. Abstention votes with the majority.
Passes.
Got that?
So now it just goes to the selectmen, right?
You still want your tour, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Heck, yeah.
That's up to
I
you.
still want a ticket. I still want a
They
ticket.
still want their tour.
Yeah, I'll be glad to. You schedule it and let me know, and at your convenience.
Okay?
Any other questions?
Nope, looks
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
So library, we're waiting for Betsy at 7:15 possibly.
Yeah,
And so that's what, we just,
we can talk about
the request.
the applications from the town.
Yep.
That are in the capital improvements for 2020. And they are the technology upgrades, stays the same as it was last year at asking for $6,000. As you know, last year, that $6,000 was funded out of the unexpended fund balance and not out of tax-generated funds. And I guess this is going to have to go into what your report says, depending on how high this is prioritized. And again, it's up to you, but you may want to tell the select board where the funds should come from on any one of these projects, but especially this one. The other project is the geographic information system. This is for the 5-year plan that it will be developed in August.
We don't have anything on that.
No, you don't.
Oh,
Okay.
that's why it's going
You
crazy.
don't
We
have
can
to
go
take
through
this.
What you talking about?
Submittals. We can wait until your meeting on July 16th to hear from the town administrator on these if you wish.
Yeah. They'll add more information and everything, right?
I'm telling you the information.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just looking for the paperwork. I didn't see any.
You don't have it.
Yeah,
I was looking
okay.
for pictures.
And when are the cemetery trustees
pictures.
scheduled?
I'm not certain that the software for the cemetery management software is going to be over $10,000 or not. The last I heard, we were somewhere between 6 and 9, and I'm being conservative in that. So they don't meet the definition of a capital improvement project if it's under $10,000. And that means they don't have to come and present a project submitted to you. But that's kind of up in the air though, still. The funding for that, Mr. Brown, would come out of the cemetery, there's a cemetery capital reserve fund that specifically talks about capital improvements. I believe that Mr. Catwick has already talked to the DRA about whether the cemetery management software would meet that definition or not. I believe he's been told that it does. So again, I'm not sure. We'll get them back if we have to, if it's over $10,000. Kicking and screaming.
At least he shows up. Much better than the school board. It takes half our funds, just throwing it out there.
We're gonna have a little discussion on that.
Just have a discussion on it.
School
Did
board.
anybody want to hear about the GIS projects
Yes.
submittal?
High level.
We do know that let's go back to the first one, the technology upgrades really is to, and maybe Tom can talk about that in a little bit. But, see, I'm putting him on the spot.
I know.
But the bottom line is that those technology upgrades really are specifically for purchasing new computers and peripheral equipment and servers and stuff like that. And I'm not certain how much has been spent to date, because as you can see from your spreadsheet, the town has put away $6,000 in 2017, $8,000 in 2018, and $6,000 last year in 2019 towards technology upgrades. I don't really know how much of that's been spent, and that is a question that you would want to ask your town administrator when he comes in on July 16th. But that's what I can tell you about that project. I can tell you more about the 2020 Geographic Information System 5-year plan data sets, and that is this. In August, we will begin the brainstorm process with department heads and members of boards and commissions about what they think they need on our fledgling geographic information system to help them do a better job and send a better product out to the residents of the town. What will happen is the Tim Fountain from Card Graphics CAI will come in and show them what other communities have done for data sets. And by that I mean, it's not just a map that you see on your computer screen. It's a map that has data and information that's spatially related to the elements in that map. And you can get that information. You can do things with it to figure out what's happening. You can overlay data sets on each other. There's many things that you can do with the GIS, but it will be very helpful for the staff to get information quickly when people come in or people call. And people can even do it at home, not necessarily on all of the layers, because some of them will be restricted to staff. But the reason for this capital improvement project, which in the aggregate is much more than $10,000, is to ensure that every year we contract out to add data sets and even map sets to the GIS construct, on a prioritized way. And that money is in a stable line. In other words, you're going to see $3,000 for at least 5 years. And then we'll add data sets to the GIS. It'll never be higher than that. And what we'll do is we'll prioritize all of the needs and do them in a prioritized fashion.
Now, this also includes upgrades and any other problems they have with the software or anything like that, right?
No.
Okay, that's
It
what I
does
wanted to
not.
know. And where does that money come from?
Well, right now, we are still in the startup era, so the money that we put together in 2018 has been paid to the contractor, the consultant. And as soon as next year starts, there will be a couple of annual contracts. One is for $2,900 and one is for $900. Those are ongoing expenses to host a web-based GIS system and to maintain the system and to update it with regard to changes in parcels, ownership, and all of the information that an assessor has. Those are normal costs of running a GIS system for a municipality. Maintenance is included in one of those contracts.
What about security?
That should be included in it too, isn't it?
Well,
Loss, distrust.
CAI hosts all of this information on their servers in Littleton, and that's done for about more than 50 communities in New Hampshire by them.
Go
ahead, Larry.
What I wrote down was just degradation, collapse, and ransom.
And what?
Ransom.
Ransom.
Meaning ransom.
You either give me your money or I break your kneecaps. That's Barrington, no, Portsmouth is having a problem right now. How, once we get the GIS, okay, our paper files become antique curiosities.
There is a point in the future where that may be true, because it would cost a lot of money to have a contractor like CAI to come in and take all the boxes of all your files that have anything to do with parcels, and take them away and scan them all and get them in, and then attach them, spatially relate them to that parcel centroid. There's a map of in the middle of a parcel of a map. You click on it, and you get all kinds of data out of it. Building permits and letters from the DES and
So in a,
site plans and subdivision plans are all right there behind that parcel.
in 100 years, every piece of paper that has come in will be digitized, will be part of the electronic record, and the question will be less and less important because less paper will have relevance to the properties at hand 100 years from now.
Right.
So 100 years from now, and we want to hold all of that paperless data for ransom. What are the protections and security?
That's a good question. I would have to go back and read the contractual agreements that we have with CAI now, and I can answer your question after I do that.
Yeah.
I don't really have an answer to that question now. I know that I've dealt with them for 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah. Because I was just...
I understand your question.
Oh,
Can they go out of business?
Assessment.
Can they raise the price?
Your assessment records vanish. How do you collect your taxes?
Well, remember that.
Oh, we'll always find a way with that.
No, I've got an answer to this one. Your assessor's records, property cards, and all of the assessment stuff never leaves your assessor contractor. That's Avatar for Milton right now. There's just there's an information flow between the GIS system and Avatar, and that needs to happen every so often for what's on the GIS to be what Avatar has. We can do it quarterly, we could do it weekly, we could do it annually. In Milton Borough, we did it quarterly or monthly. I'm not sure right now. I'm not remembering whether it is. It might have been monthly there. Right now, our contract here talks about doing it annually because it's a lot less money. But they don't. But Cartographics doesn't get our assessor's records. It stays with Avatar. So that question is
Thank you.
kind of moot.
You know, it's just, I mean, how often, you look at how important it is to have those updated records. Right? Organization, maybe it'd only be monthly, maybe it'd only be yearly. It may be worth the expense to do it monthly.
That's a discussion, I believe,
Absolutely.
for the select board at some point. Because these contracts for them to do that work and then do the maintenance and then to host the web-based GIS are all not capital improvement costs. They're costs of a program that is something that all municipalities are doing today. They really are. The systems are different in different communities, though. What we got here is a system that allows users here in Town Hall and possibly somewhere else to actually scan documents and then upload them to the server in Littleton, and they will be populated into that parcel. So whatever it is, and that's why Mr. Brown is right, is that this is a record-keeping system as well as a system that is a useful tool for both staff and citizens.
Just comes down to let the selectmen have to determine how important it is to have real-time data, or how old that data should be. Yeah. There are protections that you consider. You look up Google and you look up your house, you're not going to see today's house. That's 3 months ago.
It's a lot like when you look at Google Maps.
Right.
You're not looking at a picture that was taken
Right.
today.
And that's national security based. There's a reason for it. Just like your GPS, even in your phone, you're only accurate within so many feet. Anything more than that, it's military restrictions. They can get a lot closer than 25 feet.
The latest smart bombs use.
I trust you. I can get them a lot closer than 25 feet.
The latest smart bombs use scimitar blades rather than explosives.
My nuclear warheads on those submarines use the old-fashioned nuclear warheads.
Close enough for government work.
That's right. I just gotta get close.
Okay. Take a break for a couple minutes, wait for Betsy.
Yeah.
Nice, a break.
Or, Mr. Chairman, we could talk about something that I was supposed to give the planning board back on June 4th.
And that would be?
And that would be the capital reserve funds balance sheets here.
Yep.
And I have them for the board. This is one of the things that you should look at, because you know that a lot of your projects are funded by these capital reserve funds. And you can look here, and I'm gonna give you the one that, you tell me which one you want. I have a set that gives you the report of these capital reserve funds for the period June 1st through June 30th, 2019. And I have the report that gives you the report of the capital reserve funds for the period of January 1st to June 30th, 2019. That may be more useful, I think. And I just received these today, which is why you didn't get them. I'm gonna let you just take one and pass them.
Okay, thanks, Ray.
What are some of the things that you can glean from looking at this? You can find out whether any of the projects that were approved last year that were going to be funded by a particular capital reserve fund have availed itself of those funds between January 1st and June 30th. And from the way I look at it, there's only one that did that. And guess what? It was the GIS system. All $8,000 was paid out, leaving 0.1% of the balance, to be added by the $3,000 each year for the future data sets. And I don't see any other money. I may have missed a couple. The other thing that you can take away from this is there enough money in some of these to fund some of the projects? When your presenter gets in front of you and talks about their submittal for a capital improvement project, they don't always tell you, and you don't always ask them, where is the money coming from? Are you getting it from taxation? Are you getting it from a capital reserve fund? Is there money in the capital reserve fund already? So that's the reason why I'm giving you these things. It's really part of your process. Really talk too much.
Well, this shows the school spent $55,000 on maintenance, right?
It does.
It's more than 10,000.
If maintenance is maintenance and not replacing the roof or adding an addition or something like that, then it really is maintenance only. It's not a capital project. The other thing I'll say to you is that when you go through this list of capital reserve funds, you may see some that are not useful anymore and that don't have a reason to exist anymore. And another recommendation that the planning board can give to the Board of Selectmen, as you did 2 years ago, is to take, I'm not sure what the right steps in order are, but you either take the money out, you authorize by warrant to take the money out and put into the capital reserve fund that does have a use, and then you extinguish that non-usable useless capital reserve fund. My example is, under the fire department, Herbert Downs Fire Station Planning and Engineering. Now, there is only $4,192.01 in there, but that work has been done, and the fire station is up and running. So if that warrant article that created that capital reserve fund was done correctly, that money can't be spent on anything else ever again, unless there's a new warrant article that says, we're taking the money out, we're gonna put it into a place where it's really needed, and then we're gonna get rid of that capital reserve fund. So, I see this as something that the planning board can also recommend to the board of selectmen. There are 2 or 3 of these that are useless and still have money in them and it can't be spent.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
that Bob might be able to remember. I think when you track the school district fund, they have had a 3-stage repair for the elementary school roof of about $30,000 per year.
And that was in your capital improvement program, and I think it still shows up, Larry, on the second page of a big spreadsheet, right here, line 74, on page 2.
There's
Milton Elementary shingle roof maintenance. In 2017, the first year that we started the capital improvement program, they came in and said, we're gonna spend $33,777. And I think there was a year before that, too. And then the final year of that was $30,983. And we've never heard it from them again. I have to get that in. But that was replacing a roof. That really is a capital expense, not maintenance. I know they said it was maintenance.
Would you agree we were trying to speak to the same issue?
Yes, absolutely. So I guess all I'm asking the board to do with regard to this is to do those 3 things that I just talked about. Study this a little bit and possibly jot down some bullet points for what you want to see in your report.
While we wait, the chair of the Milton Free Public Library trustees can advise you that the shingles are red and have been primed on both sides.
Yeah, I saw the
Betsy?
The lead paint, I hope.
Keep it authentic.
L-chip,
That's
gotta have
L-chip,
it.
that's
We're gonna keep it authentic.
Historically, eat, chip, and die.
I got it.
I'm fine, except for a little twitch I get every now and then. I don't understand.
You gotta have improvement, right? You just tell them.
Why don't we approve the minutes of June 18th?
Oh, there's good.
I noticed a mistake on there. I have, for the absent members, I didn't put Joe. So I'll just need to make that correction. Or Joseph, sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Joe is fine, either one.
And you can eliminate Nick Philbrook, he's no longer.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, sure.
Was he ever sworn in?
No.
No. Nope.
Maybe shut up.
It's still Kenny.
He's pulling duty down at Groton. Well,
I don't know if he's still down there. I'll know tomorrow morning, going to soup desk, find out who's paying him.
On the second page, this Appleby Road landfill cleanup, is that still going on?
We're doing the minutes.
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay, well, squirrel.
But no one's gonna embarrass you, okay?
Yeah.
This is my standard body.
Do I have a motion on the minutes?
Move to accept.
And move to second.
Discussion.
Excuse me.
Not hearing any, all those in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Opposed?
With the correction noted.
Corrections made, and I was out absent that day, so.
I'll abstain.
Okay. As far as the Applebee, I'm not sure. They supposedly have it all cleaned up.
So if that's all done, then that money can be reallocated somewhere too.
Yep.
So what we're doing with this?
I like
is
Well,
like
except we just
is that correct?
enacted
What we're looking
new
at is like housekeeping. What is it? Remind me.
levels
And
for
put it back
PFAS
into
and
the-
PFAS, so
That's-
just
that's
because
what
it was
capital
clean
reserve
doesn't
fund
mean
is
it's
for.
still
Right.
clean.
To fund capital.
It was clean to
projects,
standard, and the
expenses,
standard
and
changed.
If you don't
But that
use
was-
the other side of the house
Those
in
were
order, you won't know
primarily
Right.
all the money that's
firefighting
getting
foams.
wasted.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
Teflon,
Thank you.
I mean, there's hundreds of home products. If that was trash, home trash.
On behalf of the green cannery, it seems unlikely that the
Yeah.
cows would have had anything more than chrome applied to their skins.
That was the town landfill at one time, though. You go down over the bank and all kinds of broken glass bottles, cans, and all down over the edge of that.
I don't know what you guys did back then.
The other stuff, the arsenic, we changed standards on arsenic, we changed standards on lead. Didn't change lead, we changed one more thing. So, in the same sense that you buy a lot that was contaminated, you own that contamination.
Holder and holder and close.
It's still,
But at least it'll be easier to get black lung.
I remember when they were cleaning up the Summersworth dump site, the EPA would be over there in their little white suits with their hoods on and their gloves, and we'd be playing soccer right next to them.
Oh, jeez.
Literally like this far away while they're collecting their samples. I'm like, this doesn't seem right.
What are
Oh
they?
my God.
Huh.
Yep. Ashley, you got any other business?
Let's go back to school.
We're down to just two left. Bruce's comments in the library.
I've already talked too much tonight.
Let's go back to the school thing. What are we gonna do with them?
You can sue them to show up. Planning board has that authority.
What's the reason they're not responding?
Apparently
want
don't
to,
want
or
to.
what?
See, that's what leads us into
It's a
our
yearly thing.
suspicions on why they don't want to show up.
Because it's left open.
Uh,
Because there is no response.
I think it's dumber than that. I may get fired upon, but my personal opinion is that they do not understand that the titles that they have assigned for purposes of administration, that is, their superintendent of building and grounds, their director of special ed, their business administrator, their high school principals, do not also include an obligation to participate in the political nature of town government and the financial nature of the CIP.
That's not true though, Larry.
That's, I
The reason I
know,
say this is because the capital improvement program is specifically called out in the planning RSAs, and they don't have to worry about telling you where they're gonna ask the money from, except in this regard.
they don't have anyone
They-
assigned.
Don't you think that the residents of this town would like to know in advance what warrant articles they're gonna ask for?
They're entitled to it.
And that's what the CIP is for. It's not just for the Board of Selectmen, it's also for the school board, and it's for the people out there that are watching the video every time we have a meeting, and they read the report at the end of August, so that they have a notion of where, we need these capital projects. School needs theirs, the town needs theirs. But how are they prioritized, and can we afford them? Because we don't know where the money's coming from. You know, if you write all the warrants for all the projects and it all comes from taxation, do you think they're all gonna be voted yes on? The answer is no.
School doesn't have a plow truck, because they waited until it
Exactly.
crapped out before asking for a new one.
I think it's
But
done
what,
well.
I guess my point is that
I-
it's specific in the RSA. It says that the school district will come in and participate in a capital improvement program process.
Correct. I think they're done walling rather than stonewalling.
Yes,
And I
it
think
is.
structurally they don't.
I don't know. I bet he has a master's degree.
One
The
final-
superintendent has a master's degree. I
One
would
final
bet.
comment on this is that, as you know, last year, we did get a dialogue going for a little while. And I met with the school board, and they heard everything that I said to them about what is a capital improvement program, what's the process like, what are the dangers for you as the school district, if there are any, and I explained to them that there weren't. And their answer to me was, well, we don't have a capital improvement plan of our own. And so you need to give us a little time, till next year, they told me, to do a capital improvement plan for the school district, and then we'll participate in the process. And now here we are.
Right.
Again, I don't get any answers.
Right, they're the ones truly holding the people of this town hostage, because we have no idea what they're doing. But
You
they're
think it
the
might be-
biggest piece of the pie.
Advisable to have the town attorney send the school board a letter and advising them of what their obligations are to the CIP and the possible ability of being sued for not participating?
Sure. You know.
Have a motion on
and
that?
I
I'd make a
said that to
motion,
them
I'd make a
several
motion.
I'll second it.
Send that.
I sent them the citation and the verbiage from the RSA.
We just have a motion on the floor to just do that.
Yes.
Letter from the attorney and telling their obligations. It was seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Good evening, Betsy.
Good evening.
How are ye?
Good to
Have you
see
been
you.
waiting long?
Well,
Oh, we've been entertaining ourselves.
13 minutes.
Who's counting?
Well, thank
13
you
minutes.
for entertaining the troops.
We do all
I
right.
know it was you. So,
Are you feeling lucky?
I have no idea. I'm here on behalf of the library. We have one more piece until we have completed the outside of the library. And that is that mansard roof, replacing the asphalt shakes with cedar shakes, and at the radius, because that radius is so deep, that we'll have to put on copper. The latest figure that I have for that is $70,780. And so we're hoping to just get it done this next year and be done. And so here I am.
Okay, any questions of Betsy?
Well, thanks to Bruce, you can look at this, and it says you have $358 in that account to do the maintenance.
$358 to do the maintenance.
In your maintenance account,
Are-
you have a more generalized account.
Second ball.
Okay.
Without detail on what's supposed to be in that, or the actual use for that.
right, so I guess I'm not understanding the question.
Well, you have two capital reserve funds,
Yes.
okay? One is specific for maintenance,
Oh,
and one is somewhat less specific for
so
general operations.
there was a confusion 2 or 3 years ago where the trustees had been putting money into the Free Public Library line, which was the line for any of the warrant articles that we had done. And then the selectmen also had a warrant article 1 year, and that was put under that repair and maintenance line. But as far as maintenance to the building, it is a government building and it's under PAT. Does that clear things up?
Are you asking whether or not they used this money for this
Yes.
project?
Yes.
If they used it in the past and.
Should we have them combined by
No,
one?
because
Just wants to know
or
if
they
some
need
of the
separate.
money has come out of one of these two
Just
capital
need an
reserve
operations
funds
fund.
to
To buy
pay
books.
previous phases of the work.
You've got
Pay
a,
for oil, electricity.
Yeah.
Right, we have a contractor
Okay.
on site right now, and he is
Yeah.
renovating the tower and the windows. The money that is here, as well as a grant from LCHIP for $36,000, is all earmarked for that piece of it.
That was last year's 52,000.
yeah. And you're asking for 72,000 this year.
Finish the,
Yep.
yes.
That's gonna come out of taxpayers, or?
Yes.
Any hopes of any more money from LCHIP?
Not this round. No, this coming round.
What kind of money would they be talking?
Probably about the same. They would be, if we waited until the following year, maybe half, like 35,000.
So maybe that could be noted when this is presented, that this is an offset, possible offset from LCHIP for the 72,000, is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense definitely to make that note. I mean,
Yeah.
Potential.
Any questions or comments? Thank you.
You're welcome. That was
Wasn't that
fun.
easy? I know, huh?
Good night.
Nice building.
But, yeah.
Makes sense to finish it.
Oh, a side comment. The LCHIP makes a big stink is not too informal, but we don't know how they finished off the Mansard windows, which stick out about this far.
Yep.
So you have to have a flashed curve, and it could have been done in lead-coated stainless steel, which would have been a nice, inoffensive gray and cheap. Okay. Because they did not have records, they presumed that Milton Mills was rich in 1875, and they're requiring copper, which will last forever. But that is driving up the cost. They also required, we wanted to replace with asphalt shingles, which were on there, And again, they said, well, if you stand over here and squint and close your right eye and look very carefully at the old picture, it does seem to look like they use cedar shakes, which at
again.
which at least seriously have been primed on both sides, and they are Class A shingles. They are beautiful. And the other thing is, because the Nancy Johnson back in 2000 got a complete review of the building done, and the engineering review said, oh, by the way, you should really have a study done to see how dimensionally stable the tower is. So some person, they read the report and they said, where's your engineering study for determining the stability of the tower? So they had to pay, in addition to the copper and the cedar shakes, for an engineering study, which probably came very close to what Mike Bolio said, two 16-foot 2x10s X. Thank you very much. So, but anyway, those are some of the things. You can't win for losing. Just one more detail.
Seems to me you could have saved a lot of money here, Larry, if you just would have told them what you used when you built the damn thing.
Martha Plummer, who taught at the school, was in town yesterday. She is now 92, sharp, and she had the unfortunate task of coming for the interment of one more plumber in the family cemetery.
Yep.
Bard the 5th. So,
Anything else,
uh,
Bruce?
Next meeting, you're gonna meet with the town administrator, you're gonna meet with Pat Smith from DBW and the recreation department. We're gonna start looking at the master plan tie-in for all these projects that are coming up in 2020. And start thinking about prioritizing what you've been hearing. There are more to hear about, so. We're gonna do a whiteboard bullet list so that I can write your report at some point. So after we do the master plan tie-in, we're gonna start working on that prioritization.
Okay.
And next meeting, we have to talk about Mighty Joe.
Yeah.
Okay, so the answer to that one is that when on your agenda for the next meeting on July 16th, we have to put the continued public hearing for Mighty Joe on the agenda. But when it comes up, you're gonna have to table it and continue the public hearing to the meeting after that, because the zoning board couldn't hear it on June 27th because they didn't have 5 members. The appealers, the appellants, chose not to move forward with 4 because a tie, they lose. So they chose to wait until the next meeting, which is July 25th, and that's after your meeting. That's like 9 days after your meeting, so you'll have to table it and continue the public hearing to August 6th.
And I will not be here August 6th.
You could do it till August 20th if you want to.
Okay.
So you should all consider that on the night of July 16th.
Okay.
Sounds good. Just one thing left.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
At least it's not dragging out.